call to order the regular Storm Lake City Council meeting of August 3rd. All who are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, council, are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as is.
So move.
Moved by Councilperson Piercy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Reiner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Agenda is set. Thank you. Are there any disclosures by members of the council to any items on the agenda? Thank you. And do we have anyone here who would like to address the council on a non-agenda item? If so, please step up to the podium. Do we have anyone online? So hearing none, we'll move forward. First, as an announcement, as many of you know, tomorrow is National Night Out. This event is an opportunity for neighbors to learn about public safety and what's going on in their neighborhood. It is a chance to work together to keep our neighborhood safe and caring place to live. Residents will get to interact with members of our police department, our fire department, EMS, as well as elected officials. I want to encourage everyone to attend the event nearest them. You know, we've been talking a lot about neighbor to neighbor, supporting neighbors to help our neighborhoods stay safe, to stay clean, and just to help each other. So please encourage people to do that. I also want to thank all of the hosts who have signed up to do the National Night Out. I think we have a few less this year than we had last year, but we still appreciate that. And it's a reminder that that's not the only time that you can get together with your neighbors. I encourage people to get together with their neighbors anytime, but tomorrow's a national event. So, and thanks to our police department for organizing that. Okay, council, are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Okay, then hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Rickliffs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martinez. Because the consent agenda includes some resolutions, this will be a roll call vote to approve the consent agenda. Councilperson Reiner.
Aye.
Councilperson Ramos.
Aye.
Councilperson Martinez.
Aye.
Councilperson Rickliffs.
Aye.
Councilperson Piercy.
Aye.
Motion passes. The consent agenda passes. Thank you, Council. Okay, we will move on then to the first item on the agenda. And this is resolution number 14-R-2026-2027 per diem employee handbook change of 8/3/2026. City Clerk Martinez.
Honorable Mayor and Council, this is a resolution to approve the change on a meal reimbursement for employees traveling. This will change the way we set the breakfast, lunch, and dinner rates. They haven't been changed since maybe before 2008. So now we'll be wanting to use the Government Services Administration site, which allows us to determine by location of what the per diem would be for the reimbursement.
Council, any questions? Hearing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 14-R-2026-2027, updating employee handbook section 4.10 meal reimbursements. Is
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Ramos. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martinez. This is a resolution, so it's a roll call vote. Councilperson Piercy.
Aye.
Councilperson Rickliff.
Aye.
Councilperson Martinez.
Aye.
Councilperson Ramos.
Aye.
Councilperson Reiner.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Okay, Mr. Olson.
Mayor and Council, this is third reading of an ordinance to update our fee structure for municipal infractions. Again, this is a result of information we discussed at 2 public work sessions. And again, the current fee structure for these specific code items in Title 5, Chapter 10, and Title 8, Chapter 1, under property maintenance and nuisances, they'll go from $75 for the first offense, $125 and $200 for the second and third offense. New fee structure will be $500 for the first offense, and then $750 and $1,000 for second and third offenses. And again, this was after we did reviews of other communities in our area, and determined this is the fee structure we wanted to go to still have a deterrent effect for our code enforcement program.
Thank you. So, Council, this is the third reading. As Mr. Olson said, we have entertained discussion and comments in work session in the past, as well as during the first and second reading. I understand there may be somebody here from the community who would like to address this issue. Some? Okay. We did receive one letter, I think that Council also received and reviewed. Okay. So, Council, do you have any questions or comments or suggested changes? Okay. So then, I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 02-0-2026-2027, amending city code, increasing property maintenance penalties, and this is the third and final reading.
So moved.
Moved by Councilperson Rickliff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martinez. This is a roll call vote. Councilperson Reiner.
Aye.
Councilperson Ramos.
Aye.
Councilperson Martinez.
Aye.
Councilperson Rickliff.
Aye.
Councilperson Piercy.
Aye.
The ordinance passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Covert. For resolution number 15-R-2026-2027, approving contracts and bonds for the Storm Lake Well number 23 project.
Hi, good evening. So as you recall, back on July 6th of 26, we passed a resolution authorizing the award of contract for the construction of production well number 23. So well number 23 will be on the same parcel as well 22. It was found during the drilling out there that we have a shallow well we can place there. So what we're looking for tonight is a resolution approving contracts and bonds for the Storm Lake Well number 23 project to go ahead and get this thing moving forward for a well number 23 on the same location out at well 22.
Okay. Council, discussion? Questions or comments? Okay. So, having heard no questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution number 15-R-2026-2027, approving contracts and bonds for the Storm Lake Well number 23 project.
Moved.
Moved by Councilperson Martinez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Piercy. Again, it's a roll call vote. Councilperson Reiner.
Aye.
Councilperson Ramos.
Aye.
Councilperson Martinez.
Aye.
Councilperson Rickliff.
Aye.
Councilperson Piercy.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Mr. Covert.
So we're moving on to well number 24. So well number 24 will be a deep well, Jordan Aquifer. It'll be located out on the newly acquired property for the water treatment plant. There's like a 9-point-something acre parcel that's kind of south and behind the school off the main parcel. This is where this would be located. So, and a little aside with this, when we're drilling the Jordan, we can do some investigations for looking for Dakota, looking for shallow well opportunities over there too. But what we're looking for this evening is a motion approving the engineering contract with INS Group Incorporated for the design of Storm Lake Production Well number 24.
Council, questions for Mr. Covert?
Because I'm locationally challenged. Did you say south of the school?
No, it'll be back to the east. It's the southernmost. There's a
Of the
narrow
plot.
piece of the block that was
Okay,
purchased.
all right.
And it'll be on that, so we'll have to follow the
I heard
setbacks
it
and,
wrong. All right.
so it's kind of nice having that. It's a little weird shaped parcel, but we'll be able to use that for some, distribution main and some well, raw
Right.
water main, and not kind of encumber the main parcels with stuff.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, then I would entertain a motion approving engineering agreement with INS Group for the design of Storm Lake Production Well number 24.
I so move.
Moved by Councilperson Piercy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martinez. This is a straight motion, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
So, council, we're now moving into the second work session on e-bikes, e-scooters, and personal mobility devices. So all of you had received the one that we reviewed at the last council meeting. There have been some minor changes based on comments and discussion. So the one attached to this agenda item reflects those changes. Chief Cole.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Attached to your packets with this is also a letter from one of the citizens requesting consideration under the changing of some wording under section 9.10.7, which is places of operation and requirements. The suggestion was to change the wording on section C, where it lists private property, operating a PMD on private property without express permission from the property owner is prohibited. The request is to change the wording to something to the effect of operating a PMD on private property without express permission from the property owner, without the expressed or implied permission of the property owner or lawful occupant is prohibited. Permission may be implied for portions of the private property customarily open to customers, visitors, tenants, employees, or other invitation or invitees unless the property owner or lawful occupant has posed otherwise communicated a restriction. So that's one of the changes that for consideration, it hasn't been changed in the ordinance. And the other change that is actually been changed in the ordinance is under section 9-10-9, under parking. Section C is new and has been added that no person shall park or leave a PMD on city streets, sidewalks, trails, or other city public property with the battery or electric propulsion system of the PMD removed.
Council, questions, comments, concerns? Councilperson Pearson.
I just don't want to be making this decision too quickly. I think because we're getting towards the end of the summer, I would actually like to know if the Northwest Iowa League of Cities would get together and try to get a uniform thing for the Northwest Iowa League of Cities to present to the state legislature to try to, so every community doesn't have some different rules. I see a problem when you go from Storm Lake to Spencer or Esterville or the lakes, that everybody has a different set of rules, and then next thing you know, you have people coming here to visit, and all of a sudden they're getting stopped saying you're not abiding by our laws. And actually, I've been on the internet looking up tons of these ordinances for other cities, and what I see is that it's confusing to track down what's current and what isn't. So when somebody comes to a community, it's gonna be hard for them to figure out what is current and what's not current. If we were all uniform, we could maybe push the state legislature to do something. My one concern, big one, is pedestrians. I worry about people walking along these paths. I had, just a week ago, where somebody went by me on an electric bike, 2 of them. Never said anything. I heard them. I was out there by Frank Starr. I did stop them later when I caught up to them, and they were sitting there, and I explained to them about, you know, if I would have moved to the left, I would have nailed them. So I'm really worried about that, and I think maybe the ordinance should stay in there, and it did in one city, and I can't remember if it was Norwalk's ordinance, that any bicyclist or person riding a personal mobility device getting close to pedestrians has to slow down to a reasonable speed to pass, because not everybody can. Some people are out there walking without hearing aids, and they cannot hear somebody announce it. And I've had people announce, "I'm passing on your left," and as soon as they say left, they're right beside me. That's one of my concerns. I'm concerned about our price of the violations. They're all over the place when you look at them for different cities in the state. Like some are at $25. Norwalk starts at first offense 50 and additional fines at 75. Most of them start by, like you said, we would talk to the people, you know, before we just issue citations. In Norwalk, they actually have a thing where parents are fined for those under 14 for not supervising their children. They also have a regulation that, I don't know if this would fly or how it's gonna work, and I don't know if it's been passed. They were reading it in July. I think that was the first reading of the ordinance, was that anybody has to be 12 years of age or older to ride a personal mobility device. I don't know if that would violate state law or not. And then there's cities like Arnold's Park says they impound bicycles. I don't know how that's working up there for sure. My other thing is, I'm just not for the helmets. Most of the cities I've checked in on, I was surprised that even Ames is not mandating it. They're highly recommending it, but I think there could be a question of whether we're preempting state law by creating a mandatory rule for helmets. See if I got it. I think that's about it. I tried to keep it short.
So I think those are all valid points. You know, I think my first concern is one, and I think this was brought up at the last work session, that this council brought this issue up as a concern over 2 years ago, and the state has not moved on it. And so you're right, every city is, and they are being passed in cities throughout the state of various levels of ordinance. And I would also ask the council to keep in mind the turnout at the public forum and the comments at the public forum, as well as the ongoing comments that we're all getting throughout the community. Move forward with that if you take those things into
Can I make another comment there?
Sure, Councilor
Okay.
Peterson.
One thing I did research is on helmets is what they're really designed for. And the speed maximum is 20 miles an hour on most helmets if they're certified. And that depends on if they're fitting properly under that 222 code for proper fit of a helmet. But when you're going over 20 miles an hour, and those are designed for when somebody just kind of falls off their bike, not for a collision. They do make special helmets now, but question is, if you stop somebody for a helmet, are you gonna check to see if that's a certified helmet? There's a lot of imposters out there on the market now that can be ordered. Just one concern I had if you do helmets, so.
Council.
I have just a couple. I'm gonna take the opposite side. I kind of think we need to act with a sense of urgency, because every day that we do not have an ordinance, we run the risk of law-abiding citizens being put in a situation where they're involved in an incident. There are no rules that governs who was or was not in the right or in the wrong, and we can end up with a very messy, litigious situation. I don't think we need to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. We're not going to create a perfect ordinance. And with regard to considering what other cities are doing, I think we need to do what's best for Storm Lake. What other cities are doing may work great for them, but may not be an apples to apples comparison to what we have. So I think we should move forward. Once we have an ordinance, if it becomes necessary to amend it, there are processes for doing that. But the longer we go without one, waiting for other people to get, create something uniform, we may be waiting forever. And so I don't think we can run that risk.
Councilperson Piercy, sure.
My big thing is that I've noticed that a lot, even down in the Des Moines area, is that they're emphasizing education as a priority to this, because without education, you can have all the rules in the world and people are still gonna have accidents.
Yeah, and I would agree. And one of the things that I have said publicly throughout this process is that this is a two-pronged approach, that we're going to do education and that we are going to do an ordinance. It seems like it's, for me, when I've made my comments, it's been that we're trying to do both simultaneously. And we can reach out to the community. Remember the public hearing, when I asked for people who were there, who were willing to help with a volunteer education program, a number of hands went up. So I think we have the community support to do the education, but they also wanted something in writing from the council. Councilperson Martinez.
So, prior to our meeting at Chautauqua, I don't have the date in my head anymore, I did talk to Coach Kuchera, because he does offer a lot of educational things, and he went down the rabbit hole as well of the ordinances, and he said it would be very difficult to have an education program without something, without knowing what the rules are, and this is our a roadmap for us. I disagree on the helmet situation. Again, I'm from California. I know that this is better for children. I can't speak for adults. I know helmets are better when they're on your head and they are fastened. I've seen people that have had injuries because they didn't have a helmet on. So, yes, are there helmets that are better if you're going faster? Absolutely. Do I think that you're going to be able to see that from abroad? No, you're not going to be able to do that. I think we have to do the best we can. The state is not going to do this. We have to do this. I'm sorry, they're not going, they haven't. They've had the opportunity. This has been a problem in other communities. That's why there's going to be 99 different ordinances, because the state isn't willing to do it. So I commend the chief and the city for working on this, and we have to start somewhere. And this is an incredible start. And I appreciate having the letter from Daniel. I do appreciate that. It's the only actual letter I think we received. There were quite a few people at that meeting, and I think nearly 100% said we have to do something.
Right. And it went from, I think it included the education and included the ordinance and one person who wanted them banned, which a city did just recently do that this week. So, and I would say too, and I don't know, I know Councilperson Pierce, you look at a lot of information as does the rest of the council. What I'm getting is almost daily, if not every other day, statements coming out from hospitals with the increase of injuries to children on these devices. And we did hear from our director of emergency medicine from the hospital at that public hearing about why the helmet was important, as well as just the other injuries. So we've gotten some really good feedback. And again, it's up to council what you want to do, but I ask that you keep that in mind. Other thoughts from council? So last work session, Chief Cole took us through this section by section. Do we need to do that again, or is there areas that council wants to make recommendations for changes? Because we need to move forward with the city needs to move forward with direction, specific direction from the council.
think we have a good working model to proceed with.
I think
Councilperson Rickles.
I just have one question. I mean, I know you mentioned one city banned, and I read that, you know, Spirit Lake, they are not allowing in parks. I'm just curious if that's something that we should be looking at. I mean, I think that's a concern of mine is, you know, it isn't probably a safe place to be operating in a park, but then what does that do with our whole trail-based system, and then where can they ride them? So, again, I think there's a lot of differences out there. But I think that is one area of concern of mine is, especially, you know, during our bigger events, you know, Woodbine and Blues, Star Spangled Spectacular, you know, our Kids Fest, like, it wasn't bad this year, but I think it could become that the more and more people have these and, you know, are riding them around.
Chief Cole addressed those kinds of events at our last work
Right.
session, so can you go back and talk about the reasonable use or speed at those events?
Sure. So at the last meeting, we talked a little bit about, and this was more specific to posting a speed limit for the trail system. And, you know, we believe that speed limits really should vary depending on the conditions. And not just the conditions of like the weather conditions and roadway conditions, but the traffic conditions, right? If you're on the interstate and the speed limit is 70 miles an hour and there's a car accident and the traffic is creeping at 20, that's, you know, what's necessary and reasonable and prudent, versus you're not going to, because the limit's 70, you're not going to get on the shoulder and start passing everyone. And it's very similar on the lake trail. If there's a lot of people in town, if you say that the trail speed limit is 20, that might be too fast if the trail is congested or if the weather conditions are bad or poor. And so we looked at that and kind of wrote the ordinance so it was a reasonable, prudent speed, rather than actually posting a limit. One thing our legal counsel we talked about some of the concerns. Some of the citizens wanted to ban all e-bikes from the trail system. And one of the things that we were asked to consider is, you know, an e-bike is defined by the state of Iowa as a bicycle. And so we have a bike trail or a lake trail that's open for people riding a regular bike. If we ban e-bikes as well, in addition to scooters, that could be problematic because regular bikes are allowed to go on it, but an e-bike can't. And so that's something I think that you'd want to take into consideration. That's just my personal opinion based on what our legal counsel told us. And as far as...
And that was not the sentiment at the forum, the public forum. It was education and an ordinance. It was not about all banning except.
The one piece on education that I'd just like to add on, in addition to Councilperson Piercy's comments, is we in law enforcement, we do education on a daily basis, traffic education with the public when we stop people for any different traffic violation. And oftentimes that education is a warning. You know, it doesn't always result in a ticket, but there's folks that come here from out of town that maybe have window tint on their vehicles that's too dark for the state standards, and they might get pulled over for that. The officer tests the windows, they're over 50%, and they educate them and say, hey, you know, in Iowa, here's what the law is. You can't have it this way. Or you still have Minnesota plates on your car. You have 30 days as a resident to change them over. So, you know, please change your plates and get your Iowa license and Iowa plates on your vehicle. You just moved here. And so, you know, we use forms of education all the time, not in a classroom, sometimes in a classroom style setting as well, but out on the roadside. And so with an ordinance, that would just give us the ability to help, you know, it gives us the ability to A, stop a violation if we see it, and B, it doesn't mean we're gonna write a ticket. The majority, if you look at our monthly statistics, the majority of our stops result in a warning. Some of them are tickets, but a lot of them are warnings, especially for first offense on a multitude of violations. So we try and educate people to try and keep them safe. That's our whole purpose.
Can I add, so when I hear about education, I don't think about the police department. They might do this, but correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have any kids, but I've worked with kids. When you have a child, you take a child to a corner and you say, stop, look both ways before you cross. That's a typical adult education of a child. What we're seeing is kids on these e-scooters and these e-bikes go right through. No stopping at the corner, no stopping at the light, and just going through. That's education that I think we can do as a community, and that's not just on the police.
Right.
I think it's the community who has to decide that we want everybody to be safe. And I don't understand why there's this breakdown of teaching kids how to safely cross the street when they're walking, but not applying the same rules to when they're on these devices. And so that's the education that I would hope that we can get going in the very near future with the help of community ed. And with parents and with neighbors. If you see kids doing unsafe things, gently educate them about how to safely cross the street and go through an intersection. Okay, council, how would you like to proceed? The next step would be for this ordinance to then go on the agenda for the 3 readings.
Honorable Mayor and Council, and the next, if this is the draft that council approves, we can set the public hearing on August 17th, which would be on the September 7th meeting. So you'd have your public hearing on the first meeting in September, and then also first reading that evening as well. September 8th, I'm sorry, Honorable Mayor and Council, we have a holiday on the 7th. Change that on my notes. I will probably be the only one here on the 7th.
Council, is that the direction that you would like us to move forward with?
Yes.
I just don't like the way it's wrote, so I'm just gonna,
Do you have suggestions that you want changes made?
well, I just don't think we should do the helmet rule, and I question our charging for violations and who's gonna be paying for those violations. I mean, are we gonna do with the parents? Is it listed in there that the parent for a certain age will be responsible for that fine?
It would be, the way I anticipate when we deal with juveniles would be, depending on the violation, we would talk to the person. I don't foresee us writing an actual ticket to a juvenile unless there's repeated violations and significant pushback from the child, like refusal to comply, which we have the ability to seize the device if that happens, because sometimes, that's possible, where, a juvenile might, refuse or, not provide the information we need, where we might have to seize the device and then have the parents come, and then we can meet with the child and the parents and discuss whether or not a charge will be filed. But our goal is not to go out and write tickets to 11-year-old kids for, it gives us the ability to stop them when we see a violation and try and educate them on safe practices. Because we see a lot of people right now they'll be driving in the street, the light turns red, then they cut up onto the sidewalk, and then they basically go through the red light, but they're on the sidewalk now instead of the roadway. And they go right back out onto the road when they get to the other side. Things like that we can stop and address when we see it, and in an educational manner to just say, hey, you can't do that. Like if the light's red, you have to stop just like a car. Don't be cutting up onto the sidewalk.
Okay, so council, the direction that I'm hearing from you is that the draft ordinance is the one that you would like to move forward to the September 8th public hearing and first reading. Is that correct? Okay, and we will do that, so, and that will be published as well. Thank you, Chief Cole.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, council, are there any other items requested for further study at upcoming council meetings? Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to recess this meeting, and then we will reconvene at the Kings Point Resort, where we will get a tour of the water park, the resort, and the golf course. And I think we are going to start by meeting at the entrance to the outdoor water park. And please obey speed limits on your way there. So I'll entertain a motion to recess this portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilperson Martinez, second Councilperson Ramos, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you out there at the water park. Thank you.